orientation for the upcoming captain's test. Hopefully in the course of the morning you have any questions. One of us will try to answer them. But I kind of want to go over a little bit about just general stuff that I've seen. First of all, it's really important if you're taking this test to try to relax, remain calm, and focus through this thing. It's I've taken 6 captains and engineers tests, so I get it. I understand what it is. You study or you prepare, or you think you prepare, or maybe you've just taken a shot at it for the first time, and you get kind of wound up. So I've watched the process change, the testing process over my career. And what I think you're going to see, and it sometimes can be a little unnerving, is it's not the trivial pursuit that it was 40 years ago, where they migrated things off from that. So I think as you go through this process, as you work through an exercise or an assignment, and you move on to the next one, let it go. We've all had the opportunity to do something, and as we're thinking about it, when we're getting the next set of instructions, we lose track of those instructions, and we're wound up about the last one, the last exercise or assignment, and we just perform to the extent that we can. So it's really important. A couple of pitfalls I've seen in every test: not answering the question or following the assignment instructions to the best of your ability. They're gonna, whatever as you go through this process, there's gonna be a set of instructions. Just follow them. When you're done with whatever it is you've been asked to do, take a look at what you've done and look at the instructions and see if you might have missed something. The other thing is, this is an assessment center, assessment process. There's the job of the proctors is to assess your knowledge and the application of knowledge through skills, demonstrated skills. So just because something may be a policy or practice in the department, if it's applicable to what you're doing, you need to articulate it. So, because this isn't about them knowing our practices or policies, it's about you demonstrating your knowledge and your skill set with respect to that. It is really about them seeing that you possess those certain skills, have that knowledge. I can tell you from our collective department's perspective, is just like every department I've been in, and that is, we're really interested in you all doing well. It's as simple as that. We obviously use these lists for promotions, and as a chief for a long time, I can tell you, as I looked at promotional lists, it's really a tool to help refine and narrow the focus on who should be promoted. And so we all work hard, every place I've been, to try to have this be the most objective process, so that a candidate's performance on that day at that time, that may exceed another candidate's performance, that they'll end up on the list in that order. And I can tell you, I'm going to introduce Matt to you in a minute. I've used Jack Clancy and Associates for years. I did not bring them here when I started at Davis, UC Davis. Matt's done work here before. He's also done work in Delaware County and extensive work in Sacramento County, but my experience with him in the company goes back 20 years. And so they're a good, solid organization that has done well at testing firefighters. I know they do more than firefighters, but firefighters, and I think he does practically all of Sacramento County now. So with that, Matt Groovers with Clancy and Associates. You all received this document. You should have. I sent it to everybody in both departments. It really is the genesis for the assessment center, so there's no secrets. I'll tell you, compared to not too many years ago, before the advent of the internet and the use of Google, where you now have a lot of stuff at your fingertips that you'd have to chase down these books. Between those two activities, there's a lot to consider with respect to preparation. So with that, I'll be in the room, and I'm going to have to talk to a few of you after the test, but I'll let you know who that is. After this orientation. So you can ask me any questions. If you don't have any questions for me now, sit down and turn over that.
Good deal. Thanks, Chip. Appreciate it. Good morning, gentlemen. Thanks for coming out. Can you see me okay on the camera? Okay, go. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Because everybody who couldn't make it this morning will get an opportunity to watch this. So no pressure on you guys, but they're going to count on you to ask all the right questions this morning to make sure they get the information they need. So as Chief Martinez was saying, Matt Gruber, I'm with an organization, Jack Clancy Associates. We're actually here based out of Sacramento. So have known Chief Martinez, Chief Taylor for a number of years, and always happy to be back. We just recently did your battalion chief's examination. So if you like the way that came out, great. If not, we're not Jack Clancy Associates, so we'll just laugh about that. But really the goal of this morning's session is to just get you up to speed on the process. Because ultimately at the end of the day, we want you to understand the process so you can do your best. It's what this is all about. And so one of the things I always like to start off with, and I talk to a lot of candidates during the year to get them ready for their assessment processes. This is all about readiness. You're all qualified to do this job. Everybody in the pool is qualified to do this job. Taking the right trainings, you got the right certs, you got the right paper. It's now all about readiness. It's your ability to show that you possess the skills that are going to make you successful as a captain. And really the opportunity for us to show that one, you got them, and two, you can use them effectively. So the number one thing I always try and start off with is in the handout that you received, there's a set of 8 skills attached on the last 2 pages. Pay attention to those are critical. Because what we did when we started down this path was we took a look at both the battalion chief's job and the captain's job, looked at those critical skills, those things you need to possess in order to be successful in the position, identified those, delineated the information, talked to administration, kind of got a feel for what those skills are, and those are the 8 you're looking at there. And so they are going to be the basis for everything you do in the process. It's all about drawing out those skills to make sure, 1, you possess them, 2, you can use them effectively. The great thing is, hopefully as you read through those, you notice that, hey, there's nothing new here. None of these skills are things I don't possess. It becomes all about the transition process. It's about using these skills and the way you use them for success in your current role and transition them to your new role. So your success as either a firefighter or a medic or as an engineer, how you use those skills today and then transitioning them to the captain role, the more formal leadership role. Because all of you already exercise some level of leadership, you're already making decisions, you're dealing with people, you're communicating both orally and in writing. Same thing, we're going to measure those skills just at a different level. So we're looking for you to take those skills that you already possess, apply them to your new environment. And that's really what the process is all about. And we're going to do those through the exercises that you participate in. Very important as you approach this process to remember and to think about, with those 8 skills that we've given you there, how you're going to show those to the evaluators. Because that's the important piece of the process. To be able to exhibit those on test day so that we can evaluate and measure them. Because at the end of the day, no matter how good our evaluators are, and how long they've been in the fire service, and how many evaluations they've done, they're not mind readers. They got to be able to see it and experience and to evaluate it. So your real charge from this point on, at least for the next 2 weeks, week and a half, is to go through those 8 skill areas and figure out how am I going to show somebody that I possess this skill and can apply it to the captain role. One of the things that will really help you, especially as we get up to the assessment date or get closer to it, underline some key words in each one of those skill areas. Because that's going to put that information in your short-term memory. You're going to remember to show it to the evaluators. Because success in this process is really up to you. We're going to give you all the tools to be successful, but it's really up to you to come in and show those skills and show that you're ready. Because at the end of the day, again, stress that piece of it's all about the readiness factor. You're going to have written instructions for everything that we ask you to do during the process. You're going to see me throughout the process. My role is to facilitate it. Been doing this for about 22 years now around the country with both police and fire organizations. And so I work with a lot of candidates throughout the year. And really my goal is to kind of get you through the process and make sure that you're ready to perform. Keep in mind as you go through the testing process, we're gonna cut you short on some time and ramp up the stress. And again, that's by design. Because we want to see you act and react, not overthink. So sometimes things will seem like, wow, in the real world we'd have more time to do that. It's all by design. Because we don't want you to overthink it. If we gave you too much time in the testing process, you'd think and rethink and think, oh, did I remember this? Did I do that? We don't want you to do that. We want you to come in and act because you possess these skills already. So we just want to see them. We want to see you use them. So keep that in mind as you go through the process. Take a deep breath, relax, do the things that you do well. Because as Chief Martinez was saying, there's really no curveballs in here. There's nothing, that's meant to trip you up in the process. We just want to draw those skills out so we can measure them. Because at the end of the day, if we can't get that information, it becomes a big waste of time and money for everybody involved. So we want to make sure that you have the opportunity, give you all the information and all the tools you need to be successful in the process, and then turn you loose to do it. So from a testing perspective, you're always going to have written instructions for each one of the exercises. You're going to have time to prepare before you actually go in and interact with the panels. I'm there in case you have any questions. So as we get you ready for it, please ask. In fact, we'll talk about questions today because I'll answer any questions you have today. But even on test day, when you come in with your group, I'll give you a quick overview of how the process is going to work. And if you have questions on that day or questions when you get the instructions, you're prepared to go into one of the exercise room, ask. I'll give you as much information as I can. Because we want you to be prepared when you get in there so you can do what you do. You are going to participate in 4 exercises as part of this process. And in fact, you're going to get your first one today. Your first exercise is a written presentation exercise. Its operational title, we call it a QRQ, and that stands for Qualifications Review Questionnaire. That'll sound awful familiar if you talk to any of your buddies who work around the area, because most departments in the local area now use some form or fashion of this exercise, because it's really designed to draw out those things you have done to bring value to the organization. It's designed to answer those questions about what have you been doing during your time in the fire service, inside and outside the building, before you got here, while you're here, to help bring value to the organization, to develop these skills, and convince the folks sitting on the other side of the table that you're ready to use those to make the organization a better place going forward in your role as a captain. Because at the end of the day, as you look at those skills, the organization doesn't really care where you develop those skills. It's all about how you use them. So if you do things outside the building that help you develop leadership and make decisions and interact with people, it all doesn't have to happen at work. Those skills can be developed anywhere. All we need you to do is talk about how you're going to apply them in your role as a captain. So the way this exercise works, the written presentation, or the QRQ, is you're going to get that in advance today. It's a series of 3 questions. You're going to respond to those 3 questions in writing. And you're going to submit them back to me, actually. So my email address is in the instructions and everything. You're going to get those back to me by next Friday, October 7th at noon. So 1,200 hours. So you're going to get them today. You'll have a week to work on it. You have all the tools and resources at your disposal. This is essentially almost a sample of your ability to do staff work as a captain. Just the content is all about you. We're going to give you a week to work on it, use your resources, write it up, put the information together, bounce it off of people you trust, talk to folks that you know, get some help with the way it's supposed to be formatted. That's what good captains do. Use your resources. Because the content is all about you. You don't have to do any research on it. You just got to think seriously about what have I done to prepare myself for the challenges and opportunities I'm going to face in a formal leadership role. What does that mean and how's it going to look? So you'll take those 3 questions. You'll take some time to sit down, think seriously about them, write them up, and submit them directly to me. You're just going to email them to me. I will send you a response just saying, yep, I got it. You're good to go. If you send it in before the deadline date, you can always send it and then decide to change it. You can always send me a follow-up email and say, hey, can that first one I sent you, I had to make a couple of changes, use this one. That's perfectly okay. Biggest thing is pay attention to the instructions and the deadlines. It is due at 1,200 hours next Friday on the 7th. We do not accept late submittals. And the reason is because all we can do, because you're preparing this about you and what you've done to prepare yourself for promotion, is assume that if you don't turn it in on time, you decide to withdraw from the testing process. Because we're not asking you to go out and do anything special, we're asking you to think serious about what you've done to get to this stage of your career. And so we're going to ask you to get it in by that time. If you don't get it in by that time, we'll just assume that, you started writing it and thought, maybe I'm not as ready as I thought I was. Because that's not uncommon for candidates to do once they get into the process. They start thinking about, yeah, I'm ready, yeah, I'm ready, yeah, I'm ready. You know what? I'm not sure I'm that ready. And then they decide not to continue in the process. So if we don't have it, we'll just assume you withdrew. I'll bounce it off the department, say, hey, I didn't hear from these folks. I'm going to assume that they decided to withdraw from the process. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to the specific instructions. Because the exercise is designed around the content. Which means basically, you've got 3 questions we're going to ask you. One of those always deals with background, education, and experience. Really how you've developed that information, really what it means. It's great if you've got a laundry list of all the great stuff you've done, but you've all done great stuff. We want to know What did you learn from it? How are you going to use it? What does it mean? That's what the evaluators want to know. In addressing these three questions, we're going to limit you to a single page each. And again, by design, because we don't want it all in writing. You're going to have an opportunity to talk about it later. This is going to set the foundation for what you're going to be doing in the assessment process. So we're going to limit to a single page. It's 12-point New Times Roman font, 1-inch margins. We tell you where to put your name and how to number the pages. We don't need great cover pages or fancy graphics or anything like that, because it's all about the content. If you possess above average, super duper computer skills, that's wonderful. But we want to know the content. That's what the evaluators want to know. It's all about those skills we're measuring. So we tell you how to put it together, what it should look like, what it's going to look like, and all you do is email it to me as an attachment. You can send it over in a Word document. If you're much more comfortable sending a PDF, that works good. Just email it over to me as an attachment so we can print it out and get it into the hands of the people who need it. Because it's going to have two purposes after you submit it. We're going to give it to two different panels. One of your panels is going to score it just solely as a written document. How well did you put the information together? How well did you develop the concept? How well do you tell the story in response to the question that we're asking? We're also going to look at the mechanics of what you put together, spelling, grammar, word usage. So again, use the tools you have at your disposal, to put it together. We're getting a sample of your writing skills. And they're going to look at how you develop those concepts to draw out those skills. The other panel is actually going to get an opportunity to talk to you about it. So they're going to get a chance to read it, and you're going to actually get a chance to come in and present it to them. So on actual test day, there'll be that piece of paper will be in, or those three pieces of paper will be in the hands of two different panels. One who's not interacting with you, scoring it solely as a written document, and another panel that's reading it, and you get an opportunity to present that information. You'll have roughly 15 or 20 minutes to present that information. Preparation time for that is minimal, 5 to 10 minutes. You don't need to bring anything with you. No overheads. We don't need any PowerPoint presentations or any great stuff, because what's going to happen is when you come in on your assessment day, on your test day, I'm going to give you a copy of what you submitted back. Say, hey, hopefully this looks familiar to you. Take a few minutes, get your thoughts together about how you want to present this. And then we're going to give you the opportunity to present at the panel. There are no restrictions on that presentation. It's completely up to you. I always tell candidates that you can take the panel through it question by question. You can use it as a summary statement of your preparation for promotion, a jumping off point for further discussion about those things that perhaps didn't get in the written document, because many of you can fill more than a page in response to that question. We just don't need you to. We want you to be clear and concise and tell the story for one panel, and for the other panel, set the foundation and build on it. So the presentation really becomes up to you in terms of how you want to approach that. And then we're going to ask you questions about it. We're going to ask you a couple of structured questions, some things we want to know about how you approached it and how you addressed it and how you dealt with it. And then a whole bunch of questions about what you wrote and what you said. So we're going to really focus on what you've done to prepare yourself to be a captain. Where did you develop these skills? How are you going to use them? What do they mean? And so it becomes very individualized. So in essence, you have 16 different approaches to this exercise, which is what we want. Because all 16 of the individuals coming through the process have had different pathways to get here. And we want to account for that in the process because we're really interested in the skills. So get the exercise, think seriously about it, spend some time focusing on it, write it up, submit it. Think about, as you write it, how you're going to present it. Because in essence, you've got a lot more time than the 5 or 10 minutes we're going to give you on test day to think about how you're going to present it. You've got pretty much a week to figure that out. You should be preparing that presentation in your head the entire time, thinking in terms of, what's my 10-minute version of this, my 15-minute version of this, my 20-minute version of this. So that when it comes time to actually go and do it, you're dialed. You've got it. You tell the story about what you've done to get to this stage of your career. That's 2 chunks of your assessment process right there based off of those 3 questions. And it's all about what you've done to prepare yourself for the next transition in your career, because that's important. So that's your written presentation, your QRQ. It's going to take the form of both the presentation and the written side of it. So we're going to, in essence, kill 2 birds with 1 stone right there with that piece of it. You're going to do a role play exercise as part of this, because one of the biggest transitions that you're going to go through when you make this jump and whether, you call it from super worker to supervisor, or buddy to boss, however you've seen it written or you wanna refer to it, one of the things you're gonna do as a captain, supervise others. And it really comes down sometimes to the stuff that's really funny today, tomorrow you might have to tell somebody to stop doing it. Because that's your role as the supervisor. And we need to make sure you're ready for that transition. Tough conversations are part of what you do. So your interaction that you're gonna have might be with somebody inside or outside the building, might be an issue or a problem, might be good or bad. You need to start thinking about, what are the 5 things that my boss does? What are the things that I see he or she regularly do? Who do they interact with? What kind of conversations do they have? With people outside the building, with the guys or gals on the crew, with their bosses. Because odds are we're gonna simulate one of those, the things that captains do all the time. We're not gonna bring anything into the testing process that you're not gonna see on the job. So you gotta be ready for those types of conversations, and we're gonna simulate. You're gonna deal with, a third-party role player in the room, could be 1 or 2 individuals that are not your evaluators. Their role strictly there is to interact with you, given the situation or the problem they're having. Your written instructions will tell you all about who you are, where you're at, what you're doing, who you're interacting with, and why you're doing it. And then we're gonna send you in the room and let you do it. Because it's one thing to talk to somebody about, here's what I would do, it's another thing to show somebody, here's what I'm doing. And we wanna see you do it. Because we know if you can do it here, you can do it out there. So you'll get all the information you need up front, give you an opportunity to prepare yourself, think about the conversation you're gonna have with this individual or individuals, about the situation you're in, and then turn you loose to go do it. And then we're gonna ask you questions about it. And the questions really revolve around, like all of the exercises, what was your plan? What were you planning to do? What was the situation you had? What was your plan to, what was the outcome you were after? How well did you get there? What would you do differently? If given the opportunity to do it again. Because it's all about what you're doing and how you do it. The other piece it's gonna have, we got a great sample of your writing skills with the QRQ exercise. Give you some time to go home and work on it and get some feedback on it and use your resources. On the back side of your role play, we're gonna get a just-in-time sample of your writing skills. As soon as you're done with the interaction, we're gonna send you off in another room, sit you down on the computer, and say, you know what? You gotta write a follow-up memo or a follow-up email to close the loop on this situation. Because one of the things the captains do a lot of, they write a lot of docs. And whether those be email or formal memos or other reports or pieces of correspondence, there's always somebody you gotta tell what's going on as a captain. Somebody always wants to know what's going on and what you're doing and how you're doing it. So we're gonna get a sample of that to make sure that you can close the loop, as good captains do, with the folks who are interested. Also gives us that opportunity, like I said, to get a really good sample or a just-in-time sample of your written communication skills. Still got the tools, but now it's your opportunity to sit down, do it yourself in a short amount of time, just like you would do on the job. You gotta fire off an email, I gotta kick out a memo, I gotta send something to my crew members, whatever it might be, we're gonna get a sample of that. So we're gonna set you up for the situation, we're gonna let you do your thing, we're gonna ask you questions about what you did and why you did it, and then we're gonna give you an opportunity to close the loop with a written doc on the back end of it. Your job is to start to think about, what do captains do? What does my boss do? And how do they do it? Who do they interact with? How does it happen? Up and down the chain of command. Because again, we're gonna simulate one of those to draw out the skills that we're looking for. So that's your third exercise in the process. You got your written, you got your presentation, you got your role play, and the last one we're gonna do an operational exercise. Because again, as a captain, we need to see you go out and manage an incident. Could be an emergency, could be a structure fire. The great thing is, and hopefully everybody watches this, what we're recording here, odds are we're gonna do a structure fire. That's what we're after. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, what we wanna see you do is get out there and manage the resources that are available to you. Because that's what captains do as first responders and as initial incident commanders. They set up scenes, they manage resources. We need to see you get off one end of the hose and get onto the other. That's what the process is all about. So it's gonna be complex, but it's not gonna be complicated. Because we wanna see you do what you do to make sure you're ready for that transition. Because first day on the job, first call out of the barn, you find yourself at a fire, and it's you. We gotta make sure that you can run it, keep people safe, put things and people in the right places, and do what you do in order to be successful. And have it all in the right places to hand off to somebody else when they come on scene behind you. That's the key. So So we're gonna make sure that no matter what kind of situation or scenario we put together for you in terms of the simulation, we wanna get those pieces out. Have a plan, put the plan in place, make sure people are safe, they're where they need to be, make sure you know how it happens. The thing that you need to know, which is most important, and even the folks who watch it online, this is going to be a dynamic simulation. So no matter what we do, we're gonna run it just like it's a real call. We'll put it in our simulator program. We'll set you up. We have a simulator operator. They'll be the voice of dispatch and on-scene units. We'll give you all the information you need up front, and then you'll go in. We'll kind of tell you a little bit about the rules of engagement, and you will interact with him the whole time. You'll be talking to dispatch, you'll be talking to your units. They will respond to you just like they will in the real world. If you need information, you'll get it. We'll get some interjects as you go through the process to let you know what's going on. We won't simulate radio traffic from the perspective of having a whole lot of technology in there that could go down or break or, stop working like in the real world, because this is a test. We're gonna have all the information right there. Everybody you're gonna need to talk to is gonna be right there near you, so that we make sure we don't miss anything in the communications process. Important for that exercise, and this is something which Chief Martinez stressed this as well, assume nothing, especially in the operational exercise. And typically, and I know from having read through many of your policies and procedures and understanding how both departments work, a lot of things are pre-assigned in your world. Second engine does this, third engine does this, first medic on scene does this. Remember, your evaluators come from external departments. They're going to have an understanding of how you do business, but the only way they're going to know if you know it is to reiterate it or confirm it. So if you're expecting that second engine to drop a line and get water, confirm that it happens. There's nothing worse than getting to an end of a simulation and somebody asks you, hey, who got your water supply? Because they never heard you say it or confirm it. Because, like it does in the real world, sometimes you go to fires and the person who was supposed to get it forgets. Or it doesn't happen, or they blow a line, or they miss a hydrant, whatever it might be. So you always want to make sure in the testing environment that if something's supposed to happen, or if you want it to happen, either tell somebody to do it or confirm that they did it. If you tell them to do it, they'll tell you a copy, they'll take care of it. Or two, if you confirm they do it, they'll let you know whether or not they did it. And if they tell you they didn't, you can always circle back and say, hey, here's what I need you to do. Again, just so the evaluators understand that you understood and know how things are supposed to work. That's what it's really all about. As you go through that exercise, continue to jot down things that are going to help you as you go. Pay attention to what's going on in front of you. We're going to load this up into the sim program. We're going to put it on the screen in front of you, and it's going to evolve as you go. Don't get so bogged down in the process or the paperwork that you forget to look at what's going on in front of you. There's a lot of great stuff out there, a lot of great training that you do, a lot of great things you can learn online. There's some folks in the local area who do an outstanding job at training folks to be incident commanders. Remember, those are just tools. The best checklists in the world are just checklists. So don't get so bogged down in the process that you're rattling off everything and the evaluators don't know why you're doing it. Pay attention to what you're seeing in front of you, just like you would in the real world. Take the actions, make the decisions that make it difficult. Call out Red Cross for the folks who are displaced by a fire, but it doesn't help while the fire's still burning in front of you and while it's spreading to the, while it's getting up into the attic and spreading to the second floor. You've still got active fire. Nobody's worried about if Red Cross is coming yet. So again, don't get so bogged down in the process. Focus on what you're doing and what you would do in the real world, and then get to those things that would happen at appropriate times so that the evaluators understand, okay, you're thinking ahead, or you're taking care of the things you want to do. Just don't get bogged down in some of the things you read or you hear and start rattling off so many things. It's like, okay, it's great that they know that, but they have no idea why they were supposed to do that from an incident commander perspective. And again, just like with the skills, do what you do. There is nothing that you're going to face in this process that, one, you won't face in the real world, two, you probably don't see on a daily basis already, and three, that you don't already have the tools to be successful with. So trust yourself, trust your decisions, trust what you're going to do. Put your captain's hat on today and start thinking like a captain. What would I do given that situation as the captain? You've got the next 10 days or so to see situations unfold with you on a shift-by-shift, day-by-day basis. Think about what you would do in that situation as the captain, because it might just show up on the testing process. And if not, you're going to be duly prepared afterwards to be able to deal with it as a captain, because you already have an idea of how you would tackle that situation. So nothing you're going to read in a book right now, nothing you're going to go out and study. Just think about the decisions you would make, the actions you would take, the plans you would have going in, why you do what you do. Because the greatest thing you can understand about the testing process is this phase, when we talk about readiness, the process is much more important than the answer. How did you get there? What were the skills you used? What was your plan going in? What action did you take to effectuate that? What were the outcomes? Were they what you expected? What options and alternatives do you have? Because all the candidates who come through are going to approach things different ways. Look for different outcomes. Look for different approaches. It's what you would do is what we're interested in. And then how you show us those skills and the skills that underlie it and your ability to use those effectively. So it really is a very simple process. It's like what you do every day, just at a different level. Think, be, do, say, like a captain. Keep in mind, something I mentioned earlier, which is the single most important thing as you go through the process, we gotta see it to evaluate. So on that day, bring your A game, be prepared to show us the skills, your ability to use them effectively. Because if you don't say it, do it, or write it down, we can't evaluate it in the process. So no matter all the great stuff you do outside of that room, we can't evaluate it if you don't bring it in for us. That QRQ exercise is designed for you to bring in a lot of that. But for the role play and the ops exercise or the sim exercise, come ready to show us what you can do. Those are the four. You'll interact with a different evaluator team. With each one of those, they'll introduce themselves, when you get the opportunity to interact with them. So you'll get a chance to meet and work with them closely. They'll ask you a lot of questions to make sure that they're clear on what you were doing and why you were doing it and that they're not confused by anything that's going on. So if they ask you a question, explain to them what you were thinking, and what you were doing, and what you had in mind. Because that's also a great opportunity for you to close the loop for them. Because sometimes they see something happen, they're not exactly sure why you were doing it. Take the opportunity if they ask you about it to explain why. Here's what I was thinking, here's why I did that. Okay? Now I get where you were going with that. I kind of understand it better in terms of what you were doing. So take that opportunity to close the loop for the evaluators as well, because at the end of the day, you don't want to leave them guessing about what your intentions were or how you were trying to do that, or what skills you possess and how well you can use them. Do it for them. Because all they're going to do is call it like they see it. And again, I'll reiterate that piece of success in the process, completely up to you. So 4 exercises, written instructions for all those. Anything I give you, you can write on and take in with you. You don't need to bring anything from the outside on test day. We'll give you everything you need. The instructions, paper, pens, pencils. If there's any specific information that you need for that, we'll have it for you. And it'll be there for you. Use the tools you got, make good decisions, approach it like you were the captain, and this is what you're dealing with. If there's not policy or procedure to govern it, use your own best judgment, given the situation. And we purposely try and keep it out of the realm of having a specific policy or procedure to govern it, because we want to see you think and then act in the process. So it's going to be all very straightforward. I'll remind you of everything on test day, give you an opportunity to ask any questions, answer those as you go. You'll have all the other tools that you need to do it. One thing I always like to tell candidates when you come through the testing process, being focused is key. Take a deep breath, relax. Remember, it's just a test. If there's anything that makes you feel better on test day, you're the kind of person who likes to snack on stuff as you go through stressful situations, bring it with you. You're a Cliff Bar guy or gal, or you want to bring your own lucky water bottle, or you got your lucky highlighter, bring it with you. That's perfectly okay. There's nothing secret about that kind of stuff. Anything we can do to get you to focus on the process, relax as you go through it, and have a little fun with it, much better. Because remember, we need to get the information from you. The evaluators need to get the information. They need you to engage them in the process, just as they're going to engage you. So with that, that's kind of my spiel, points that I can give you from 20 plus years of getting folks ready to participate in these types of processes, and I'll finish it with the idea of you're ready. Now just come in and show us. So what kind of questions do you have? Anything I didn't answer? Anything that is there in your mind that's like, hey, I wish I knew this, or hey, I wish I would have asked this, or I wonder how this is going to work? Sure.
I don't know if you can answer this one. For the simulation part of the test, will we be using our engine numbers and truck numbers versus generic ones?
You know what? I'm going to leave that one open-ended just at this time because we're still trying to figure out how best to approach that.
Okay.
Either way, you'll have the information up front for planning purposes that you'll have. We'll try and keep it in line with what you would normally see.
Okay.
But if it gets too convoluted, we may just have to genericize a little bit and give you engine 1, 2, 3, and 4, so we'll sequentially number them for you.
Sounds good.
But you'll know it all going in as part of your prep, so you can, get organized around it.
What I can tell you is an engine is an engine and a truck's a truck.
Staffing and resources will be consistent. So, we'll set everything up that you would normally see, depending on the call and depending on the location. That'll all be consistent. So even if we call it engine 1 instead of, engine 31, it'll still be, staffed and, and equipped and set up the same.
So with the truck, is it gonna be a 3-person or a 4-person truck company that day?
That's a good question. We'll tell you. We won't tell you now, but we'll tell you in the instructions.
Okay.
You'll know your staffing that you have when you're dealing with it. And you'll have, all other staffing and all other resources available to you. So if you need to pull a second, you'll get the same units you would normally get in the real world, the same number of units. So. Any other questions about the process? Everything in the process, keep in mind, is timed. But we'll always tell you how much time you have for everything going in. We'll let you know how much time you got to prepare, how much time each interaction will take, so that you'll know that going in so you can plan. Pay attention to your time. Because it's really bad when you run out of time and didn't get everything done that you wanted to get done. So focus on getting everything done that you want to get done within the time. So if you got 5 minutes, have your plan to get everything done in 5 minutes. If you got 20 minutes, have everything ready to get done in 20 minutes. But don't think that using more time is better than using less time. If you get everything done that you need to do in 5 minutes out of a 20-minute exercise, that's perfectly okay. Some people get a lot done in a short amount of time. Longer is not necessarily better in some of the exercises. If you get done what you needed to get done and you fully explained it, you took care of what you needed to take care of, that's just as good as somebody who spends all the time. Use the time that you need. We'll just give you the outer limits of the time, and keep in mind that when that expires, that's when you'll be cut off. So if we give you 15 or 20 or 10 or 5 to do something, at that point we're cutting you off. We'll typically have timers in the room, so you can pay attention to those along with the evaluators. It'll help you manage your time while you're in the room, because it's something that captains do. You manage time as a captain. You manage calls, you manage 24-hour shifts, you manage 48-hour sets. You manage time constantly as a captain. So it's something you gotta be prepared to do, and something you gotta show us that you can do. Any other questions about the process? Who, what, where, when, was, how it's gonna happen?
Couple of quick things then, logistics. On your test day, the test will be at City Hall, City of Davis. We'll be using conference rooms in City Hall and perhaps one adjacent to City Hall. There'll be someone there, we'll give you an arrival, point of arrival, and from that point forward, be someone to walk you, help you get through the process. Class B uniform is the uniform of the day, which is the uniform that most of you have on today. For those who aren't in the room today, we will email out the sheet that Matt's gonna give those of you in the room to get started on your writing exercise.
Chief, you can actually email it to all of them, that way everybody gets it at the same time.
Perfect. Okay.
Everybody has the same amount of time, so as soon as you get it, read it over, start taking a look at it, sit down and knock it out, and you sit down and knock it out if you get a chance.
I think you're the only one who isn't on duty today. We go to your department email, so you can add that, and I'll have it out by 1,400 hours.
Other than that, the rest is up to y'all in terms of the process. You ready? Just come in and show us. Put that captain's hat on. Do what you think that would be best with you as the captain, given the situation you're facing. There's no secret to this process. You don't have to try and beat the process. It's not a puzzle that you have to figure out. It's not a riddle you gotta solve. I promise you. All the information you need is in the handout. Couple that with what I told you today and what we're looking for and how it's gonna work. There's no secret. And I know a lot of times you see those things that are out there for the low price of $1,000 or $5,000. Somebody can teach you how to come out number 1 on the testing process. You already got all those tools. Just come in and show us what you can do. If you're ready, it will show. And if you're not, you'll learn a lot about what you need to get ready for the next time. Because all of you will eventually lead in your organization. Whether it be from your current position, your next position, or a greater position. And so we want to start to build those skills now and continue to refine them as you move up the chain of command, if that's what you want to do. Because it's the same skill from rank to rank to rank, you just apply it differently given your environment and your location in the organization. But it doesn't change dramatically. The skills you have today will serve you well even when you're a chief officer. You'll just be using them differently. Right. Any other questions, comments, anything else you need at this point in the process?
Don't bring resumes, like you said, don't.
Nope,
need three.
you don't need resumes, you don't need any, nope. Weave that information into your QRQ exercise. One of the questions is specifically designed to ask a little about, what have you been doing, how you been doing it, what have you learned from it? But again, especially when you come in with that opportunity to present it, remember, don't run through the list. Tell the evaluators what it is, what you learned from it, and how you're gonna use it going forward. That's what's important. Because all the great stuff you've done today is not gonna serve you well as a captain if you're unwilling to use it and share it, especially with those folks around you. Captains spend a lot of time coaching and mentoring and preparing those folks around them. Big piece of what you do as a captain. So you gotta be willing to share those skills and information and knowledge that you possess with others in order to be successful and effective. Anything else? Any other questions I can answer today?
All supplies, paper, pen.
Yep, we'll have everything there for you. But like I said, you got that lucky highlighter, lucky ballpoint pen, lucky pencil you've been saving for the last 15 years since you took your entry-level examination. You know, that one that got you the score 92 on the way in? You still got that pencil? Bring it with you. You can use it on this assessment as well.
Don't bring your answer buddy, though. Get in your surrogate guy sitting next to you and,
You know, that's actually a good point. One thing I will add, you don't need to bring your phones. Leave your phones at home. Because, and it's not that, you won't need them during the process, but when your phone's there with you, you're always tempted to grab it and look at something. And, like I said, there's nothing you're gonna go out and find that's gonna help you be a better captain. What you don't want is people looking at your phone and having the wrong perception about you're doing something secret. So just leave it at home for the 2 or 3 hours you're with us. It's just a small chunk of time. You'll come in as a group, we'll run you through it, and you're done. So we'll get you in and out as painless as possible. So you won't be offline for very long. We just need you focused at that point in time. So leave your phones at home. Bring your lucky stuff with you. The stuff that's going to help make you feel a little more comfortable in the process. Take a deep breath and do what you do. It's meant to be stressful. Everybody in the room, along with you, already knows that. Remember, they went through a similar type process. They get it. So they will help put you at ease as well and get you geared up to do what you need to do. So the other thing is to have some fun with the process. It is a learning process as well as a testing process. You're gonna learn a lot about yourself and where you are in terms of your level of readiness to perform as a captain.
Do we have a specific testing?
Yes, we're actually testing on the 11th and 12th.
yeah.
Yeah.
As far as your date, no.
Okay.
We're
Yeah,
in the
we're-
schedule now, but we haven't done it.
We're gonna build it, plug in the names, we'll get that out. We'll get that over to the chief so they can take a look, make sure there's no juggling around they need to do from a coverage or operational standpoint. And once that's done, it'll get out to you to say, hey, appear at this time, plan on being with us for about 3 hours, and then you're done.
Just because people tend to read into stuff, the reason we haven't done it yet is because the strike team just got back. And some of you are on strike teams, and there was no sense to schedule and then try to flop it around after the fact. One of our big challenges, and it's every department has the same challenge, is getting proctors to commit to 2.5 days, because that's what we have to get proctors to commit to. And so we just don't have the luxury of saying, oh, you're not gonna be here on Tuesday, sorry. Or flip side is you can come in Wednesday, because we won't have, or Thursday, we won't have the proctors here on Thursday, so.
Okay?
One last thing. Since I am, I get a lot of calls in the middle of the night, but I don't imagine we're sending a strike team out, but don't hop on a strike team unless you're not interested in taking the test, because we can't replicate this. So for the 10th and 11th, 12th, we're gonna watch that very closely, but I need you to help out too.
One question, Chief, so like on my shift, I'm the only engineer right now. Will we be making like accommodations if there's one out, cause?
No, I'm sorry, if you're the only engineer, service comes first. Yeah.
Well, no, that's, I'm
No,
just
we're,
wondering like.
no,
like, are we gonna-
we're gonna take care of your staff. I mean,
Okay.
short of something that you control, we'll work through the process here and
Okay.
take care of you, yeah.
Alright, just wondering.
I can drive the engine, that's not a problem.
I haven't
And
anything.
will, by the way.
And after today, if you have any questions, bring those with you on test day. Because like I said, we'll give you a quick briefing on test day, remind you of, hey, here's how it's gonna work, here's what it's gonna look like. Give you an opportunity to ask him questions, so if you have a question that comes up, just save it till then, we'll get it squared away. If you have a question about that QRQ exercise, please email that to Chief Martinez, that way he can get it to me. And any response we come up with will go out to everybody. So that when the response comes in, so if somebody has a question as they read through it, the instructions or something, that way everybody gets the benefit of the response. That's the important part, so everybody gets the information. And it's pretty clear, like I said, it's very straightforward, it's simple, tells you exactly what we're gonna do with it, exactly how to set it up, even tells you where to put your name and how to paginate it. It's all in there to make it simple on you. Just make it look like that, put it together, email me that 3-page document, I'll confirm that I got it, print it out, get it in the right people's hands, and you're good to go. And just remember, as you write it, think about how you're gonna tell somebody about it, because that presentation part is important. And make sure as you write it, remember that you have a full panel that reads it and will not have the opportunity to talk to you about it. So think about what story that tells as you write it. How well do those skills come across? How well do those experiences tell the story of how you've prepared yourself and what you've done to get to this stage? And again, once you write it, bounce it off somebody you trust and get their feedback and adjust it accordingly. Even better, bounce it off somebody you don't trust and get their feedback about it. But use your resources. And so, there's nothing secret about that. All about putting your best foot forward in terms of the process. Alrighty, with that, I'm going to close it up. We will see you all in a week and a half. And I expect that, I'll see all your writtens on October 7th as planned. And we'll be off and running. So I wish you the very best of luck. You will see me again. And if you need anything in the interim, just let us know. Thanks for coming out this morning.
Thank
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And see you.